It's time for some fried chicken. All right, so I have cracked an egg in this bowl here. Gonna add some buttermilk. I'm only cooking 3 pieces of chicken today, so I don't really need a whole lot of marinade. All right, we're gonna whisk that up a bit. My husband does not like chicken skin, so I have already taken the skin off of one breast for him. All right, technically they say you should marinate your chicken and your egg for, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes. I don't usually give it that long. Make sure both sides are coated. That buttermilk kind of starts breaking down the tissue in the meat and helping it to be a little more tender, typically. So 2 thighs with the skin and 1 breast without. All right, so we're gonna let that sit there just however long it takes to make our seasoned mix. All right, so we're gonna put, I like to use a Ziploc bag to shake my chicken in, plus it's just, then you just toss the whole thing in the trash. So if you were using a, 8 to 10 pieces of chicken, you would probably need about 2 cups of flour, but I am only using 1 cup of flour. I'm gonna start heating my grease over here because today I'm using the last of one of my Crisco cans to finish up, and then if it's not enough, I will add some liquid oil to it. Okay, so now to our flour, we want to add, I'm gonna half my seasoned recipe, which will be in the description, since I'm only making about a half a batch of chicken. So we're gonna use 2 tablespoons of paprika today instead of 4. This one says it's smoked. It's not the spicy one though, even though it looks like it would be. This is not a spicy paprika. Okay, we're going to add, it says would be 1.5 tablespoons of white pepper. I think that's a lot of white pepper. And so I am going to cut that back just because of my family. In fact, I think I'm only gonna do a half a teaspoon. But that is, if you're wanting a KFC copycat recipe, white pepper is important. The only thing, KFC has 11 herbs and spices in their recipe. You will only see 10 here because we're not using MSG. Okay, so next we have a tablespoon of garlic salt, which I will be using only garlic powder because I don't want the garlic salt. Actually, I don't even have garlic salt, so if I wanted to, I could just increase the amount of salt that I add, but I probably won't do that. I'm gonna add about a half a tablespoon of celery. Actually, I did a little bit less. You do whatever you want. I don't want that to be too strong. Half a tablespoon of ginger and also dry mustard. There's the mustard. It's close to a half. I like to put them back when I use them, that way I won't forget. Did I put that in there or not? So I'm pretty bad about that kind of thing. You wouldn't think ginger would go in fried chicken, but that's one of the secret herbs for KFC. So my big ones I'll put over here and put them back later. All right, we also need half a teaspoon of black pepper and about a teaspoon of dried thyme. All right, this is my half a teaspoon. So I think what I'm gonna do is 1 of the thyme leaves and 1 of ground thyme, because the leaves can be a bit crunchy. So I'm going to do half ground and half leafy. but any thyme is fine, I would assume. The black pepper, I think I'm only gonna do a half a teaspoon. It says a half a tablespoon, but I'm only gonna do a half a teaspoon because my daughter's a little pepper sensitive. All right, and then basil and oregano. Basil, I think, is a weird thing to put in here. I'm really not going to put very much. It's supposed to be 1 to 1.5, or 1.5. We're only going to do a half. Actually, I'm not even doing a half. That's probably about a quarter. I don't want it to be funky. Now, oregano I've always put in my fried chicken, so I'm going to do the full teaspoon of it. Thereabouts. And the salt I did not add yet, but it's not actually one of the ingredients because they use garlic salt and celery salt, and my garlic and celery, neither one have salt. So now I'm just going to add a half a teaspoon of salt to compensate that. Okay. All right, so that's all of our herbs. And then we're just going to mix them up. Hold the top of the bag or you're going to end up breathing in a whole cloud of stuff. All right, I'll put some of this out of the way. Use the salt again on something. We're gonna have, today we're only making rice and a can of corn and a can of lima beans. Since we just made mashed potatoes yesterday, we're not gonna do those today. All right, this one I didn't use. One I did. Okay. So my oil, I'm gonna turn you over here closer to the stove now. Let's see, maybe like, I might have to make you a little taller. Sorry about moving around. I just want to give you a good angle. So I have my oil heating here. It's getting there. I'm gonna take the lid off now so that it doesn't get too hot too fast. I like frying chicken with the lid on it. It kind of gives it that, it cooks the internal much better without the outside burning too fast. So I started it on, I say it's number 7. You want to start it off pretty high, and then as soon as you get it in there and it starts sizzling, then you'll turn it down a bit to maybe medium and put the lid on it. So that's how I like to do mine. And that always works well. I hate frying chicken, but I love eating it, so. You can use a thermometer to check the temperature of your oil, something I never do, but I could probably have it a little more submerged than it's going to be, but I don't want it too submerged, and the lid will help it to cook all the way up anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get the chicken out of the marinade over here and stick it in the bag and start coating it because I think our oil is just about ready. Flipsy. My husband likes his just burnt slap up, so the harder and drier the better, especially with so many recalls and problems these days that are in our food. It's best to not eat anything that's not really well done. If you want it extra crispy, what you would do now is put it back in the marinade and then back in the flour again. I don't like mine quite that crispy, so I'm not doing that. Sometimes I do season my marinade a little bit too. I didn't today. I was just following this recipe that I got basically just off Google for a KFC copycat. And like I said, apparently they add MSG, but we're not doing that. That's the whole point of making our own food, is so that we don't have all that extra added crap. All right, let's check. This is how I check my oil. It's bubbling a little bit, but not a whole lot. So I think we're gonna give it another minute. You want your oil good and hot when you put meat in there for the first time, whether it's chicken or pork chop. So. Also read too, as a pro tip, if you like, they call them craggy bits, which are the little hard crispy bits of breading on your chicken, then you would add a little bit of your buttermilk into your flour before you put the chicken in there, and it makes it get those little crumbly pieces. I end up getting some of those anyway just because it's already been sitting in buttermilk, but so I don't need any more craggy bits. So now it's starting to sizzle. You might be able to hear it. I have my air conditioner on today, so because I'm hot. Alright, so we're going to gently put it down. You don't want to plop it in there because it's going to splash up and burn you. My daughter's terrified of grease. She won't fry anything. But the point is, you want to gently lay it down. I always put the skin side down first. And for me, the back side of my pan always cooks hotter than the front. And since the breast is the bigger piece, I made sure to put it in the back. So we're going to let that brown up just for a couple of minutes, and then we'll add our lid. And in the meantime, scrape some of this off so it don't all go down my sink when I wash my hands, and toss this bag. Just a good thing about using a Ziploc bag. If my grease would have been a little bit hotter and it was really, really sizzling, I probably would have already turned it down and put my lid on. But since it wasn't super duper hot, so I gave it a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and put it on now. And I'm not going to turn it down too much yet since it wasn't too hot to begin with, but I'll probably have to turn it down, as it sits there and cooks. So in the meantime, I am going to start my rice. I have already measured 2 cups of water into here because I want 2 cups of cooked rice. So we've got 2 cups of water. We're going to turn that on high, and then we're going to add 1 cup of rice when it starts boiling. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 water to 1 rice. And it will give you the amount of water you put in, which is about 2 cups. Minus any little bit of evaporation. I don't really have any fresh vegetables at the moment. I try not to eat too many canned ones, but right now that's pretty much all I have. So today, my husband loves lima beans and rice together. And my daughter loves corn. So we're gonna have a can of lima beans and a can of corn with some rice. And that's really all we're having today. I am baking a special treat later after dinner, so they'll have something then. So here's my 1 cup of rice. I'm waiting to put it in for the water to boil, which shouldn't take too long. And I suppose I will pause it there and come back to you in a minute so that this video isn't too terribly long. So see you soon. All right, so it's time to flip the chicken. One thing about fried chicken, you want to kind of flip it often. Pork chops you only flip maybe 1 time because they'll get tough. But with fried chicken, you want to flip it several times. You need the coating to be good and stuck to the one side before you flip it, otherwise it'll slide off. So we're going to just gently flip them now. Let it lay down in. Don't let it drop from your tongs, because then it's going to splash all over you. Okay. See how it's getting nice and golden? Looking good. Now I will not use these tongs again because that was raw on one side. So these are going in the sink, and then we'll get a different pair when we're ready to flip it again, because then it'll be pretty much cooked. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on it now so that it gets that inside good and cooked. You'll also see that our rice water is boiling. We're going to go ahead and turn that down so we don't lose half of our water. Dump our rice in. Sorry, I didn't want to lay them on the counter with raw chicken, so I kind of just tossed it to the sink. Okay, we're going to give this a little stir because we don't want it all mounded up in the center of the pot. Because then what will happen is the bottom will cook and the top will not. So make sure, and it'll also kind of just clump together. So just make sure it's good and mixed up there. Put our lid on. Don't leave it cracked yet because you don't want to lose your water from evaporation, or then you won't have enough water left to cook all your rice. I've added about 1/4 of a pat of butter in here because I've only got 1 can of corn, so I don't need a whole lot of butter. And I'm going to use my dandy no seasoned garlic and herb that I used on the peas and carrots before. There's a big clump right there. And we're just doing basic corn today. And I do have seasoned lima beans, so I won't be adding anything to these, nor will I be rinsing them off because I don't want to lose my seasoning. I've already rinsed the tops. Always rinse your tops off before you put your can opener in it, in case there's any just dust and dirt and contaminants on the top. You don't, as soon as you punch through, it's going to fall down in your can. So you don't want that. So rinse your lids off. I could start these now, even though it's a little bit soon. You're just going to put them on really low. This can opener's a bit old. Then again, it could just be a wonky can. I don't know. There we go. I'm hovering over this rice because if I don't, it will totally boil over so that I can watch it. Still cooking a little bit too hard for me. So I'm going to turn it down even more because that's a pretty hot burner that I have. So I'm going to drain some of the liquid off of these lima beans because I don't want that much, and I'm going to rinse my corn, so I'll be right back. Alright, so I didn't take all of the juice out of the lima beans, just a lot of it. So they're going to go in here. And I'm saving my can because I'm going to need something to dump that hot grease into so that I can wash my pan later. So I won't get rid of these cans just yet. If you don't like watching real time, you could always speed up the video a bit here. Some people may actually want to know how, or watch chicken fry. I don't know. I'm not going to put my corn in just yet because I like that seasoning to kind of brown up a little bit. Get it almost charry. So this, I'll just keep lifting my lid a little bit every now and then because it helps keep it from boiling over. And I guess other than that, I'll let you take a pause. And I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back to flipping, ready to flip it again. When you take your lid off, don't turn it, because if you do, all the condensation in the top is going to run down in the pan, and you could get splattered pretty well from that. So just hold it straight up and over, like so. I usually set it in my sink, but I don't want to walk across it. Got a different pair of tongs now, so I'm going to, these smaller thighs are probably close to done, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this breast and I'm going to put it to where, see that fat side that wasn't in the oil there? I'm going to prop it down like that. I'm going to use that other piece to hold it up there. Like that, so that that back side cooks a bit more. I don't know if my lid will fit back on there right now. It might not. No, not particularly. I could tilt it a bit, but I really want that part to cook. I don't want it to cause drips to go down the side, so I'm just going to leave that off for a few minutes while that back side cooks. So if that's the case, I'm going to put it back up a little higher up. Now remember, this one is skinless, so that's why some of that's just pulling off. Alright, so this is my corn. You can see it's starting to brown a little bit. The seasoning is kind of good and a little bit melted. Corn pot, not corn. So now I'm going to add the corn. I rinsed it twice inside the pan to get preservatives off, and I'm going to save that can as well, but this I'm going to add a dash of salt. Just a little bit. Alright. See what our rice is doing? I wanted to boil up a bit, but that helped just lifting that lid for a second. Meanwhile, I'm going to get a paper plate with some paper towels on it for draining, because I think those two thighs are close to done. I use paper when I can because it's just less greasy stuff I have to try to wash. Line it with paper towels, it'll soak up some of that oil. It's now 3:53, so I mean it takes a little while to get fried chicken done. So I don't cook it very often, but my husband loves it, so I like to give him a treat every now and then, and he's been wanting it. So we usually do all thighs because they're cheaper and easier. But he said he hadn't had a bone-in breast in quite a while, so I'm giving him one. Especially the smaller, one of these is smaller, this one is. I don't want to burn it up too much, so I'm going to go ahead and take it out. Try to drip off any excess I can. And the only reason I'm standing way over here is so I don't walk in front of the camera too much, so that you can still see. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now is go ahead and put it back down a bit. See, right there is where we had it standing up, so that was able to cook that a bit. And this one is probably done too. You can always stick a thermometer in it if you want. I usually just stab a knife through it, and as long as blood don't run out onto my paper towels, I'm good to go. If it does, well, then you gotta change paper towels and everything. We're gonna put it on. I'm actually gonna turn this down a little more to medium because I don't want it to burn too much. Alright, so meanwhile, turn you this way some. Well, you can see. And we're going to stab that chicken and see what it looks like. So this is my smaller one, so if this one's done, then I know that one's done. So I'm just going to stab one because I don't want to lose all of my moisturizing juice out of there. But this is my piece anyway. It's done, but I would say barely. And honestly, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that off so it don't get too overcooked. I like my skin. I think, see how it has that little tiny bit of, trying to get it for you. Yeah, I know I'm mauling it to death. Yeah, it's got that little bit of just, I mean that's probably just a vein, but I don't like that gelatin pinkness, looking this, so I'm going to actually just put this back in for a sec. I'll put it, now when I put this back in, it's going to sizzle because it's cut. So basically you're adding water to grease in a sense. So I'm going to do it gently but quickly. And that lid saved me from getting hot or anything. So. And I guess in the meanwhile, because this one's going to be my daughter's, I'll want to make sure that it is good and done too. And I think I'm going to get rid of both this knife and this plate and get it on. Put this on here to check it. I'll still leave that skin over there, but get another knife here. She don't want her skin either, so technically I can take that off and save that for myself because I like the skin. I saw someone one time make a sandwich that was nothing but a piece of fried chicken skin on a bun. I thought that was weird, but you know what? I would eat that. Weird as it might be. That's hot, obviously. Yes, she don't really. This one don't have that. This one's done. So she'll be good to go on that. You want to get all the way to the bone to check, because around the bone is where it won't be done. The outside will be done because all this outer part is done, but it's just around that bone area that you really need to check. So that's why you kind of have to stab into it. All right, so that piece is good. Meanwhile, I am going to stir this rice, because if not, see how it kind of goes up on the side over here, like that? That part up on the side sometimes won't cook right, so I like to flip it and stir it around so that the top part goes down in. Sometimes the one sitting on the top will not be done. And I don't like crunchy rice. Alright, so that'll be good. We won't have to do anything else to that. Those are both good. Alright, now we just play the waiting game. So if that one thigh was barely questionable, then we know that breast is not ready. But dark meat does take a little bit more time to cook than white a lot of times. But those were really big breasts. So. Good. How crispy it is. But I'm going to get a plate and put that skin on there so I can get rid of that inside there. You really don't want your grease to get black and smoky, and mine is borderline getting that way. So I'm hoping it's done real soon. That one thigh is probably done now. Putting the lid, but I'm hold it over here and there. Since that was cut, it probably didn't take long to finish cooking. I know that's loud, I'm sorry. And I look at this side. Yeah. Exactly how he likes it. Hoping it would stay up a little bit, but that's okay. He says I cannot cook his chicken too much. Alright, so I have the pan off, but I'm letting that just sizzle a few more minutes while I finish plating it up. My daughter and I like butter rice, so especially if there's no gravy or anything. So I have a pat of butter for our rice. I don't want a lot of rice anyway. Butter will melt, and we'll mix it up and that'll be good. She doesn't want a lot of lima beans, so her plate is done. I don't want a lot just because I know my husband does, so I'll let him have the rest. He likes his together, so we'll get it down this. probably won't have any corn, so he's gonna have more rice and beans. He likes them on top. Should have got a spoon of holes in it because they don't like all the extra juice, but I got most of them out. I didn't want to use another spoon, so. Alright. And his piece of chicken. He's going to be happy with. I just hope it's done. It should be. Alright, and that's how he likes it. Hard and crispy-ish. And that's with no skin on top. He likes that hard and dried outness. What I'm going to do is pat the top with another paper towel. Just to try to eliminate some of the grease. Actually, he'll probably have a separate plate. You don't mix his stuff together like we do. But anyway, that's it. It's chicken, lima beans, rice, and corn. Daddy, eat.
On my way.